Today, we are going full-on forensic. We're not just going to talk about why an inverter might die. No, we're going to pinpoint the exact component that fails first and trace the whole chain reaction that leads to that final smoky end. Let's dive in.
So, picture this. Your inverter just dies. 1 minute it's working, the next it's not. Maybe you hear a constant beeping or you smell that distinctive electronic burning smell. But you know what? That's just the end of the story. Do you have any idea what really just happened deep inside that metal box?
For most of us, the story pretty much ends with those obvious external signs of failure. But that's just the final scene of a much longer, much more dramatic play that's been happening inside the inverter itself. Yeah, we've all seen these, right? The sudden shutdown in the middle of the night, that awful high-pitched beeping that won't stop. Of course, the smell of burnt electronics, or maybe you just find a trip breaker and that's that. These are really just the last gasps of a system that's been silently failing for a while.
So here's what makes this explainer a little different. A typical explanation might just focus on those symptoms, or give you a broad cause, like, oh, it was an overload. But today, we're going to trace the entire sequence. We're going to pinpoint the very first component to fail and look at what's actually happening on a microscopic level. We're peeling back the layers.
So, where does this whole tragic story begin? Well, our journey into the heart of the inverter leads us to one tiny, absolutely critical component. This is almost always the first domino to fall, the MOSFET.
Okay, here's a super simplified look at the power chain inside your inverter. You've got DC power coming in from the batteries, right? That power then hits the MOSFET switching stage. Now, this is our prime suspect right here. This is where the action is. From there, the power goes through capacitors and transformers before heading out to your appliances. But it all hinges on what happens right there at step 2.
You can think of MOSFETs as the incredibly fast, powerful heart of your inverter. I mean, they're switching on and off thousands of times a second to chop up that DC power and create the AC sine wave you need. But all that hard work, all that stress, well, it also makes them the system's weakest link. They take the full brunt of the electrical load.
So what actually kills them? Well, a major culprit is something called conduction loss. The easiest way to think about it is like friction, but for electricity. As all that current rushes through the MOSFET, some of that energy just turns into heat. Now, under normal conditions, that's fine. It's manageable. But under stress, that heat becomes the silent killer of your inverter. And this is where it gets really dangerous. The math here is not your friend. The relationship between the current you're pulling and the heat it creates isn't linear at all. It's exponential. Heat is proportional to the square of the current. So a small increase in your electrical load leads to a much bigger increase in heat. When your water pump kicks on, the temperature inside that tiny MOSFET doesn't just nudge up a bit, it skyrockets. We're talking a 10% increase in current, creating a 21% jump in heat. It's a runaway train.
Now, once that first MOSFET overheats and fails, the damage is really just getting started. That one little failure triggers a destructive domino effect, a failure cascade that just tears through the rest of the system. Let's watch how it happens. And here's the crazy part. This first failure, it's completely silent. There's no pop, no puff of smoke, nothing. It's a microscopic thermal collapse deep inside the silicon of the MOSFET itself. It happens long before you have any idea something is wrong. With the MOSFETs now failing, the next victims in line are the DC bus capacitors. Think of these guys as the shock absorbers for your electrical system. But now, they're getting absolutely hammered by all this chaotic electrical ripple. This creates a ton of internal heat, which literally boils them dry from the inside out. As they fail, your whole system's voltage becomes dangerously unstable. And this is where it enters a death spiral. A really vicious feedback loop kicks in. The heat from that first failure makes the whole system less efficient. To make up for it, the inverter has to pull even more current to power your stuff. But guess what? More current creates even more heat, which leads to more inefficiency, and on it goes, accelerating until the whole thing just gives up. This really brings us to the most important takeaway from all of this. An inverter doesn't just fail in a single catastrophic pop. It fails in layers. One component gets weak, which then puts stress on the next one, which compromises the next. It's a slow, cascading breakdown. So, let's just recap the real sequence of events. It all starts with that silent thermal buildup. That heat causes the efficiency of the semiconductors, our MOSFETs, to drop. The system tries to compensate by pulling more current, which just accelerates the heat buildup even more. And finally, that runaway process leads to a full-blown cascade of failures across the board. Okay, so that's the internal story. We get it. But what actually starts this fire in the first place? Let's zoom back out of the electronics and look at the real-world things that kick this whole mess off. Things you might actually have some control over.
And here they are, the usual suspects. That massive startup surge, when a well pump or an air conditioner kicks on. Using DC cables that are too thin, which adds hidden resistance and heat right where you don't want it. Not giving the inverter enough space to breathe, so heat gets trapped. Or just constantly running it right at or even beyond its rated power. Heck, even having a weak battery bank that sags under load will force the inverter to pull way more current, starting that deadly cycle.
But you know what? Understanding this whole sequence, from that first trigger to the final cascade, actually gives us the power to prevent it. So this last part is all about how to stop that slow internal burn before it even has a chance to start.
So the bottom line is this: making sure your inverter is sized properly for your loads, especially those big surge loads, giving it plenty of ventilation, and using beefy, correct-sized DC cables. These are not optional upgrades or best practices. They are your absolute primary line of defense against the silent thermal failure we've been talking about.
And that really leaves us with one final question for you to chew on. Take a hard look at your own setup. Look at your wiring, your ventilation, the kinds of loads you're running. Is your system genuinely set up for survival? Or is it, without you even knowing it, set up for a slow burn?
Okay, as always, just a quick and really important reminder, working with this kind of electricity is dangerous. Please consult a qualified professional for any installations or repairs. This has all been for educational purposes. We really hope this gave you a much deeper understanding of what's going on inside your inverter. Thanks for watching.